Welcome to the Two Fat Guys in the Album podcast, your weekly dive into iconic albums and our search for the modern classics. In this episode, we explore the 2005 Sunset Tree album by the Mountain Goats. The somber themes of this album about growing up among domestic abuse has created one of the early masterpieces of the 21st century. Paraphrasing from the iconic refrain of the track This Year, I'm going to get through this podcast if it kills me. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more in-depth reviews, music analysis from two fat guys who love talking about music, no matter the genre. I am Mike Blackburn. I'll be your host and narrator. And with me, as always, is my good friend, the maestro of music, the siren of sound, the doctor of the diminished chord, Brek Hufnus. Good day, maestro.
Good day.
So generally, you lead off these podcasts with some cleanup, some nuggets.
Got some nuggets, got some cleanup.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Not that it wasn't a spectacular show
No.
this week.
So last week we talked about the Grateful Dead, American Beauty.
Yes. Yes, and Front Bottoms.
Oh, and the front bottoms.
Right.
Yeah.
And Goose was review, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing I didn't get to squeeze in about Goose, and your big thing about both the Grateful Dead and Goose is like, oh, they're such great live bands. We shouldn't listen to their regular albums because they only are live bands.
Never said that.
Maybe not on air, but taking that into consideration, Goose did have their breakout album actually was a live album.
Yeah.
And it was from their Radio City Music Hall in 2023. And it's really a great album. They did they did a series of shows at Radio City Music Hall. And one of the shows featured Trey Anastasio from Phish.
Yeah.
And so that, if you want a Goose live album, that's probably the one that I'm pointing to. Again, you can probably find, I believe they release almost all of their albums live, or they can be tracked down on the internet in the same way that the Dead could. But this is the kind of the one, I think. Also,
so what was the name of that again?
Radio City Music Hall. Goose, Radio City Music Hall. Really fantastic if you want the full live Goose experience. But they also released one live at the Salt Shed.
Oh.
In the same year in 2023. And being that we like the Salt Shed quite a bit.
We do, now that we found the really comfortable seats.
The super comfortable seats. Those are two live albums that I would point to if you prefer to listen to them live.
All right.
And then we had talked about the Grateful Dead and how important American Beauty was, and it was important.
Sure.
It was, I think, a landmark album. And you'd kind of said, well, what came after that? Like, was that their last big album? You had said something to that effect.
Yeah.
Because there were so many, the album before that, Working Man's Dead, had a ton of songs on it.
That they still played.
Yes. Right
up for the next 25 years. They actually, both of those albums. So that was just, my curiosity was they were both released in the same year.
Yeah, 4 months apart.
Yeah, and then that made up a good chunk of what they they played. Yeah,
right. That's true. And I couldn't pull it when you would ask me on the show, like what came next. Mm-hmm. So what came next was Grateful Dead, Wake of the Flood in 1973. So it was already a few years.
Yeah. 3
years until their next studio album. It was one of their most popular, if not their most popular album. It charted at 18 in the United States. So a pretty high charting album for a band that you didn't think actually made records.
Wow.
So here's the track list from that album, though. And you tell me what you think. Okay. Yeah. Mississippi Half Step Toodaloo, Let Me Sing Your Blues Away, Road Jimmy, Stella Blue, Here Comes Sunshine, Eyes of the World, Weather Report Suite, which includes Let It Grow, which was kind of popular. No, right, okay. Blank. Meh. No, that's fine. That's kind of my impression of it as well. But those songs did make it also to their live sets, but
Sure.
not in any way, even though it was their highest charting album, not in any way as impactful, I think, as Working Man's Dead or American Beauty.
No, I would say I can picture a couple of the other covers off of albums I had. Again, searching for the Grateful Dead gems back in the day, and I think their mid '70s to late '70s stuff was pretty
Ordinary.
Yeah, nothing to write home
Right,
about.
and they were
Some of them were just clunkers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to close the
Yeah.
loop on that because
Okay.
it came up.
Mm-hmm.
And then just one more nugget
Sure.
for the Grateful Dead. And actually, what brought this to mind is, I don't know if you read, this has been in the news, but Stained, the band Stained, their big song was "It's Been a While" in 2001.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So it just came out, and he brought it up in an interview. The lead singer, who you know his name, but I can't think of his name right now.
Thanks for that.
Well, you
Yeah.
Stained, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
Stained.
Yeah.
He just
Oh,
came out and
yeah.
said he still hasn't made money on any of his records. He actually still he's sold over 6 million records, hasn't made a nickel from album sales, because he in fact still owes money to the record company. So the record company gave him a big advance to make their records, was wildly successful, but they also own the songs. The record company owns the songs.
Oh.
As in many cases,
So
that's what
bad.
happens.
Yeah. Bad contract.
A bad contract. So he gets money for touring and everything. He hasn't come out and said I'm poor or anything like that. And he's actually not even complaining. He's just saying this is the deal, and I signed this contract, and he says up front they gave me a ton of money, but he's still paying that back. I think his goal is to have it paid back very soon.
Like a student loan.
Yeah, kind of like a student loan. And in contrast, the Grateful Dead, who would let you freely bootleg their music. And I often wondered how you were able to do that, because if you went to any other rock show with a tape recorder and set up microphones and such, it was like a hard no. That wasn't an option.
Yeah.
You couldn't go to any other concert and do that.
Still couldn't, probably.
Right. Mostly,
But
Goose you might be able to. I'm not sure.
I vividly recall being at Grateful Dead shows where you could see they had, people brought boom mics.
Yeah, giant boom, multiple people.
Right,
They
right.
were just lined up along the near the soundboard.
Yeah.
And so I think that was allowable because the Grateful Dead owned their music. They own their masters. When they signed their contracts, they retained the rights to their music. And so that also gave them the liberty to say it's okay to bootleg this, because they were
It was theirs.
You know what
It was
I'm
theirs
saying?
to
It was
give away.
theirs to give away.
Yeah.
And turned out in their case to be a great business decision, because even though they were allowing bootlegs of their concert videos or their concert performances, turns out they were really good businessmen.
Yeah. For those who don't recall, as well, people would have you and I would have a case with cassettes in them.
Yes.
And you would, that's how you just kind of kept your cassettes, whether you bought them or somebody gave them to you.
Right.
Or,
They could have been cassettes. They could have been mixtapes, or
Right,
they could have been
and
cassettes that you bought.
Right.
Yeah.
The old mixtape.
Yeah.
But you had these cases, and you'd go to these shows or walk around the parking lot, and there were people that would be selling these, and you could open them up, and it was, here's San Francisco from April, and, the show from, they just have these large displays almost of all of these.
Right.
You'd stand there and go, and I was really kind of young and didn't know enough about the Grateful Dead, other than I enjoyed being at these parties they called rock concerts.
Yes.
to kind of know what was a good show and what was a bad show. But it was really, I mean, I have vivid memories of that. I have vivid memories of people out in the parking lot selling shirts and whatever they were
Yes.
making. Talk about another thing you wouldn't get a lot, you know.
Right, you're selling like merch, like labeled merch.
Labeled merch with logoed merch of
Yes.
their stuff
Right there in the parking lot.
in the of the parking lot of their shows, and no one would bat an eye.
Right.
And it was so they could make enough money to eat and to get to the next show.
Yeah, they were basically
Yes,
just
yeah.
funding their ability
Yeah.
to tour with the band.
It was a wild time, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure there's any band
Well,
before or since that is like that. I don't.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think Goose is pretty cool. I think any of the jam bands that we're dealing with are, I mean, nobody to that level of
Yeah.
whatever,
But they were doing it for 25
but they
years
did
at
it
that
for
point.
a long
yeah.
time. Yeah, you just reminded me. I actually have a cassette of, I think the last show. I think I have a cassette of the Soldier Field shows, the very last ones. And I was just thinking, I should convert that to digital. I need to dig that up. And then I realized I could probably just go online and download it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have to
exactly,
worry
exactly.
about it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, that's a little bit from last week, just to close
cool.
a few
Yeah.
circles.
Yeah. So it's been a few weeks now, but we did a kind of a show previewing and kind of encouraging people to vote for in the Hall of Fame, for
Yes.
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, a few weeks ago now, the final results came in, and we haven't had
Yeah.
a kind of a chance to talk
So just
about
to
them.
be clear, and I don't know if you're trying to do this tap dance or not, but I don't mind pulling the curtain back on this. Like, our comments are on time. Like, this information just came out. We are commenting in real time on the Hall of Fame induction and such. It's just you're not going to see it for a bit. So we appreciate in advance. I appreciate that you have avoided all Hall of Fame news and information so that you could get it from us fresh.
Right. Yeah, I was trying to,
Yeah, just pulling. Well, to me, I don't want it to sound like we sat around on this information for a month and.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah.
we are delivering.
We had
this
other things to talk about
in our own time, but
yeah. So, anyways, the Hall of Fame, the winners were announced.
yes,
And we had talked about kind of on the Hall of Fame show our 45, or
Yes.
kind of where the voting was at that point in time for
Right.
the fan vote, and then kind of now that fan vote went into the pot with all the other votes, and we kicked out some winners here
right.
recently. So, so
Well, first,
I'm stunned by the whole thing, to be honest with you.
okay,
So
wrongfully, I think, but I'm actually quite pleased with the results. But Phish, who won the fan vote by a huge margin,
yeah,
not in.
right. So that I found interesting.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to allow fan votes, I think you should take. And I don't know if they consider how those votes are cast, or if they can see, bots or whatever. But
Well, yeah, I don't know how much they protect against bots, but they do allow multiple votes. They do.
Sure.
It's not like one vote per email address or anything like that. So you are allowed to vote
so
once a day.
Yeah.
And I think what that means is Phish has the most rabid and enthusiastic fans.
Mhm.
Who
which should be
support-
worth something.
Right, which
So
should be worth something.
do you want to go through the winners?
Yeah.
Just
sure.
list them out.
Yes, the people that got in were Bad Company, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker. Stop it. Look, this is
You're reading a list. You just read just one job.
Can you allow me to read the
Yeah,
list?
yeah. Just got a little verklempt.
Cyndi Lauper, Outkast, Soundgarden, and White Stripes all in on the performer category. Musical influence, Salt and Peppa. I think I said that the right way.
Sure.
And Warren Zevon. And musical excellence, which I think all these are worth looking at because
Yeah.
these are not household names necessarily. Tom Bell, Nicky Hopkins, and Carol Kaye. And then the snubs, I guess, going off of what the fan ballot was, Billy Idol, who I believe is Hall of Very Good anyways, did not get in. And then people that I think will someday go in but did not get in this time. You know, they're going to have to wait, but they will be in the Hall of Fame someday. Phish, Mariah Carey, Joy Division / New Order, and Oasis all did not make it. And then the Mania did not make it, and that's not a band I'm familiar with at all. So
No.
I imagine they'll probably get in, but I honestly can't comment on them.
No, so the last vote list I saw, that Mania,
Mania, I
yeah.
think.
They had 10% of the vote that Phish had. You know, so,
Yeah, right.
I mean, they were pretty far behind.
Yes.
So, I don't want to get into a huge fight here.
Yet.
Yeah, but Bad Company to me is the Hall of Very Good, as you phrased it.
Right.
Soundgarden is they're all right, and then White Stripes. I mean, I like them a lot, but I'm not sure they're Hall of Fame worthy in front of Oasis, Joy Division.
Yeah, I
or
think
Phish.
that's fair. I think there's a couple points of view that when all these discussions seem to circle around a couple things.
Yeah.
One of them is what you just kind of said is, well, these bands are fine, but do they go in ahead of other bands that haven't? And I think that's a very common thing. People take a look at the bands that aren't in, and it's like, well, let's get these guys in first, and then we can talk about the White Stripes or whatever. And I think that's okay. I mean, I think that's fair. And then the other comment that is very common, and even from our Hall of Fame inductee vote show that we heard quite a bit of, was just that these people aren't rock musicians. So Mariah Carey, for example, would be someone that a lot of people would just say, well, she's not a rock musician, so she doesn't go in. And I will say, I am not like married to genre. Like, genre is something that I don't pay that much attention to.
Unless you do. Until you do. I mean, it's not important until it's important.
Well, but I can talk about it, but so for example, if you're going to say it's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the only people going in are rock and roll and that's it. Okay. All right. So now who do you have in there? Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, Buddy Holly,
Miles Davis.
No, not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he is.
No, there's no way he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm talking about rock and roll music.
But Miles Davis is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, I think you're missing my point. I'm talking about what is actual rock and roll music.
No, I understand.
And it's rock and roll music from the 50s to I would go to like 63, like pre-British invasion, American rock and roll. And that should be a close the doors, throw away the key.
No.
That is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and only rock and roll is in it. Okay, so clearly we're not doing that. Clearly we've expanded beyond the literal rock and roll.
Sure.
Okay, so then it becomes maybe the Rock Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
All right.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think that's my point of it. So then as you sort of stretch the boundaries of defining, well, what music qualifies for this, and somebody had commented it should be the Pop Music Hall of Fame, which I'm not too concerned about. Some people said it should just be called the Music Hall of Fame, and that opens up a massive can of worms. So
I want to be there for the Beethoven induction ceremony.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but that's not a bad comment, because I mean, if you look at who's in, I mean, Miles Davis is in.
And rightfully so. Miles Davis, rightfully in. He was...
well, you nearly had a heart attack when I suggested John Coltrane.
Because they're two different people with two different
They are two different
influences.
people. Most of the people on this list are different.
Jeez. Miles Davis invented jazz fusion, okay, and created it. So the fusion of jazz and rock music, and then in turn that jazz fusion created other genres that were like prog rock, say, and jazz rock and all these other things. So he has a direct link to rock music. He is you can plug him in to rock music.
So how is
John Coltrane has no direct link to rock music.
neither does Mariah Carey. Neither does any of these the divas
But
who are getting in.
Right, in Mariah Carey, like that's where it becomes okay. Is it the Pop Hall of Fame?
But there are plenty.
If you want to include jazz musicians, like again, I don't care. I actually don't.
Except when you do.
No, I don't. If you want to, no, I'm just trying to have a conversation. If you want to put John Coltrane, one of my all-time favorite saxophone players in the rock and roll hall of music, I'm not like chaining myself to the door and not allowing it, but I just don't see it as a connection. I think Mariah Carey has a much stronger connection.
Started this discussion saying you don't care about genre, and then it's right up until you do.
But there has... Look, I don't care. All right, I'm going to go with I don't care. Put John Coltrane in. You want my final word on it? I don't care. Put John Coltrane in. But put Mariah Carey in, too, who has sold more albums than anybody in the universe.
I agree.
So
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
It's just,
Can I just be... So what can I...
A Love Supreme is one of the great albums of all time.
It is.
So
but not at all a rock album.
No, but
okay. All right. So if I may, I have two thoughts, if I may, and then I think we should talk about a couple of the musical excellence people for a bit because they don't get obvious attention. But this is my plan for. We'll see how much free time I have. But I plan to have the Maestro Hall of Fame point system in place for the next time we talk about this. And I envision it being something like golf. Like if you win so many tournaments and you win so many majors, you are in the Golf Hall of Fame. That's how golf does it.
Sure.
Okay?
Yep.
And so I'm just basing it a little bit on that. I still like the human element of it, so I feel like you should get points for there should be a floor. Like if you have so many top 100 singles, you get points for that. You get points for albums. You get points for whatever you want to, give points for. You get points for being a groundbreaker, a landmark person. And then I think there should be a floor and a ceiling. I think in order to be on the ballot, you should have so many points before you're in the discussion. And I think if you go over a certain number of points, you're just in. Okay. Yeah. And then I think could be a whatever gray area in the middle that's voted on.
So there's an interesting group of people who've sold a lot of albums that wouldn't qualify in your narrow concept of what this Music Hall of Fame is supposed to be.
Right.
Like John Williams or Neville Mariner. They've sold a ton of.
Right. Well, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra's got, I believe, more Grammys than anybody.
Bella Fleck.
Right.
Probably is up there too.
Well, again, and that's why at some point do you have to draw a line like, well, we're not going to have classical musicians. We're not going to have, purely classical artists or do you just open up to an entire Music Hall of Fame? And if you want to just call it a Music Hall of Fame, that's fine.
Well, and I think it's what it's turned into, so I don't. But you were so anti-genre until you're not anti-genre.
You keep saying that
because that's what your argument is.
No, my argument. I'm trying to play along with rules that are in place. I'm trying to play along with what.
But there are no rules.
The actual Hall of Fame is determining who is. It's their Hall of Fame, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay, and so if they think, obviously, by putting someone like Mariah Carey on the ballot, that. They think that she's eligible. It fits the whatever their framework.
Well, there's a whole group of divas that are already in.
Right. Well, Whitney Houston in particular comes to mind. So yeah, if you're gonna say divas are in, then
Cher went in last year.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, you're right. So it can go on forever, but it's their Hall of Fame. So whether they want to include classical musicians or that's going to be on them, and so I'm only trying to work within their parameters, and that's my genre discussion. I'm going to defend Bad Company one more time. They had their first three albums were top 5 in the US and UK. They've sold 40 million albums. They had 29 singles. They had 18 top 100 singles. You can stop poo-pooing Bad Company now.
You're just trying to be invited to Thanksgiving dinner.
They
sure.
have the numbers. They have the numbers, so they're in. Can we switch gears to to the musical excellence people?
Well,
or did you want to do something else?
No, well, you should probably go to I'd be more interested. The music excellence. There's a couple of fascinating people on there, but the music influence people. There's
Warren Zevon's
there's a guy you gotta
Warren Zevon's our guy for music.
Which is a shame.
He didn't go in as a performer.
He because talk about just great songs, impact.
Yeah.
Werewolves of London. Excitable. Right. The whole Excitable
Boy right.
album is is a ranked album on my list.
As it should be.
He's done a lot. I'm glad to see him getting in.
Yes.
Posthumously,
unfortunately.
Well, it's a lot of Joe Cocker's going in posthumously.
Yes.
Chubby Checker's going in posthumously.
No, I don't.
I think Chubby Checker's
really?
Dead. Yeah, long time ago. But we'll look at a break. Or stay tuned for Nuggets.
Stay tuned for next week's Nuggets. I think Chubby's still with us, but not positive about that either.
I don't think so. So then, but going in with Salt and Pepper.
That's
push it,
Push it real good.
Yeah, they make some good commercials.
Yep.
All right. I'll take their word for it on that. Music excellence. There's 3 that I'm aware of.
Yes, Tom Bell, Nikki. So.
Tom Bell's a producer.
Tom Bell's a producer. He's created what's known as the Philadelphia sound.
The Spinners.
The Spinners, exactly. That's the one that jumps out
Rubber
to
band,
me.
Rubber band, man band.
I didn't know you were a member of the Spinners. It sounded just like them.
Yeah.
And credited with laying the groundwork for disco and R&B.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
100%.
So again, this is a guy. Not an everyday name, but it was massive.
Yeah.
And then Nicky Hopkins. I've never heard of Nicky Hopkins before. Have you?
No, apparently a phenomenal session musician.
Have you seen who he's played with?
Yeah. Well,
the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, the Kinks, the Who, the Jeff Beck Group, Steve Miller Band, Jefferson Airplane. You gotta be kidding me.
So as a piano player. Which you're going to have to explain to me why the Beatles need session musicians.
They needed session musicians.
Is it because they weren't that good of musicians, or is it because of how they recorded that they needed keyboards playing at the same time?
Yeah, so first of all, I did not look at what Nicky Hopkins did for the Beatles, so I don't know what specific songs he played on.
I think he played keyboards on Revolution.
Okay. That's an interesting question. I think they were all really Beatles, good musicians. None of them probably could have been part of King Crimson.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there was stuff like if you think of even a song like "Let It Be," which has that kind of piano opening to it, it's really simple. I was gonna say I could probably teach it to you, but maybe not you. But most people, it wouldn't take long. It's actually fairly simple. Imagine like the beginning to Imagine.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. George Harrison's a nice guitar player, an influential guitar player. But even he brought in like Eric Clapton. Billy Preston came in on keyboards for
sure.
Let It Be.
But I didn't know that's because they were doing it kind of live.
Right, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
If they
how they had to record it.
Right. By like I'm gonna, and this is off the top of my head. You said he performed on
Revolution with them.
Oh, on Revolution, the song Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, no idea. Like they definitely had. So you would.
So the other one that he is credited with is the keyboards on "Sympathy for the Devil" by the Rolling Stones.
Right.
Now I get the Rolling Stones need to bring
more people.
Bring in a keyboard guy.
Right.
But if you think about the Beatles, you can picture Paul McCartney
No, he can play the piano. Like I've seen him play piano live. I mean,
Yeah.
he's performed live on piano, but I think he's limited. I don't think he's not even Elton John. I mean, he's not Elton John.
Who is?
He's not Billy Joel. So I mean, he's
Yeah.
fine. He's competent. He plays. He's made albums where he's played every instrument on the album.
Sure.
So he can do it, but a lot of session musicians, a lot of bands, a lot of bands. They
Sure.
go in and they record and they do their stuff, and then the producer calls someone else to come in,
Yeah.
and usually doesn't even tell the band.
Well,
and
you hear
it's-
that a lot about drumming. That some
Yeah.
of the metal drummers can't keep a beat to save their lives.
Yeah,
And
so they just bring guys in,
and
and
Yeah.
the actual band doesn't even sometimes even know it, that somebody has come in and cleaned up their parts for them. So I was fascinated by this, by Nicky Hopkins and the bands that he's played with.
Yeah.
And, those are really interesting questions you asked.
Well, and the last one I think is equally as kind of cool.
Way cool. Carol Kaye,
Yeah.
who, again, should already be in, quite honestly. She's still with us, by the way. Rolling Stone's number 5 bassist of all time. Nobody really would know her name. Member of the LA Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Credited with like 10,000 recordings over a 65-year career. So again, back in as a
It was
session,
making like $20 an hour.
I don't know. I mean, they got paid. They were.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
this is when, but it was like a 9-to-5 job. You go in.
Yeah.
It's like the more cowbell guy. He's like he put what was his? He puts his. I put my pants on one leg at a time, but then I go make a gold record.
Right.
And that's kind of Carol Kaye. Played on Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
And then McCartney even acknowledges her bass playing influenced his bass playing on Sgt. Pepper. Was Phil Spector, one of the greatest producers ever. Quincy Jones, one of the greatest producers ever. Where she was like their, who you called when you needed
Sure.
somebody. Played with Sinatra, Simon and Garfunkel, Stevie Wonder, like a wide variety. Your favorite band, the Monkees, rather. She played on the Monkees.
Nice.
Worked with them.
We have to do a Monkees album.
We don't. And then she also played guitar, which I didn't realize. And so she was a session guitarist on La Bamba.
If we ever do a Beatles album, maybe the secondary album should be the Monkees.
Oh, God. I'm not.
Like it.
She played on La Bamba with Richie Valens.
She played guitar.
Guitar.
On that. Yeah.
And she even played on Frank Zappa's Freak Out. So this is obviously, this is just a major person in the music industry who nobody would know her name, but she's probably playing on. If your favorite music was made in Los Angeles between like 1956 and I don't know 1980 or so, she's probably playing bass on it or guitar.
All right. Well, I think we're going to have to leave it there, but those are fascinating people. And let's drop the needle here on Sidewalk.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rock. In the red corner, an album that needs no introduction, an unranked challenger. This universally acclaimed indie folk rock masterpiece features heart-wrenching and highly personal songs of childhood trauma, addiction, and survival. Written and performed by the incomparable Mountain Goats, this is the Sunset Tree. And in the blue corner, two fat guys. This is two fat guys and an album.
I don't think that we can, as a pair here, can overestimate how much we like the Mountain Goats.
Yep, this is going to be a drool fest.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah, this is.
If we get slobber all over you.
I don't know. A band we or an artist we stumbled upon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, probably pushing 10 years ago now.
Mm-mm.
No, longer.
Keep going.
Really?
Well, so this album is Sunset Tree was made in 2005.
Yeah.
So I have, and I looked it up because I have the evidence of the first time we saw him in concert, and that was in 2009.
Wow.
And so we at least had known about him probably
before that.
at least
Yeah.
in 2008 or so. So yeah, but 2009 is when we saw him live at that movie theater.
But the Portage
The
Music.
Portage,
music,
yeah, which was an old movie theater that we used to go to as kids when it was a movie theater, and then had been briefly converted into a music venue.
Now it's probably bulldozed.
It was
I don't
great.
know. Yeah.
No, it's still. I haven't driven past there, but I'm assuming it's still there.
I don't know. It shouldn't be. It was had some issues. We saw Beat at another former movie theater.
Right, it used to be called the Gateway.
Yeah.
And it had stars in the ceiling. It was
They
one
did.
of my favorite theaters. And it still has stars in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So every time we go there to see a concert, I'm pleased to see that the stars
are still there. Yeah. Well, I didn't realize we went back quite that far with them.
Yeah, so so saw them.
I
saw
believe
them live
this
in
is one
2000.
of those like weird things, weird bands that I kind of get into, and then
Yeah, you
finally shared it with you.
Yes, that's how
and
it
you
happened.
were like, "What stupidity are you dragging me into now?" And then your jaw was on the ground.
Yeah, no. When you sent me the and it was this album, it was the Sunset Tree that you sent me a song from, and I think it was the Dost Thou, I can't.
Oh,
even think.
Hast Thou
Considered the Tetrapod?
You're right.
I think that's the first song that I ever heard
Yeah.
from the Mountain Goats, and yeah, and
on,
it just
on my rotation, still on my rotation,
song.
will always be on my rotation.
yeah, and the Mountain
Could be the epithet on my tombstone.
yeah,
Yeah.
not lo-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and this is for me, like that song grabbed me immediately. You know, there was
Right.
no
Yeah.
like the hook was set.
Yeah.
But then the great thing about this album and all the Mountain Goats work really is just how layered and nuanced and detailed it is. So even though for me, like I liked it just as, oh, you can tap your foot to this. This is really good. But upon closer inspection, it just gets better and better and better.
Well, you got to talk about who the Mountain Goat is.
The
really.
Mountain Goat, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to pull, even though I could probably, even though I know this album and band, I'm really not good at quoting verse and chapter on anything. So I have to have my notes out.
Yeah.
But the Mountain Goat is John Darnielle.
Yeah.
He started off with legit lo-fi music, not the computerized lo-fi that
We're gonna get
Siri
to. Yeah.
that Siri thinks is lo-fi, but actual lo-fi music, making recordings with a guitar and a boombox and a Casio keyboard. By the way, that's the Panasonic RX FT500 boombox. If you would like to,
We need to get one to sit here.
Yeah.
What is that again?
It's a Panasonic RX FT500.
RX
Yeah, it's nice. It's a dual cassette player.
500.
Yep. And you can get them. You can still get them on eBay for like maybe $50 or something. So
need one to sit here with our.
Yeah, we could put that into
with
rotation.
our Walkman.
And so he made music like that for quite a while.
So think about that.
Yeah.
It's a guy basically plugging. Is he plugging into the boombox,
Oh,
or is he just has a boombox and hit record?
Yes.
Like we would do one of the old tape
Yes.
decks. We should get one of those too.
Yeah.
So this is like he's hitting the record button and just playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a built-in microphone.
And then he would like copy the cassettes and sell
And distribute them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why he had to have the dual tape deck. So you
like
could copy
good
it.
Nakamichi dual tape deck.
It wasn't a knock.
Nakamichi.
It was a Panasonic RX FT500.
Yeah.
And if you go to his early recordings, like you can literally hear the cassette wheels spinning.
Yeah.
Like you can hear the tape, you can hear the cassette wheels. It is as lo-fi as it possibly get in the truest sense of the word, and it's great music. It's incredible. As time went,
he's an amazing. Well, one is it's scary to know that he's like he's just like a couple months younger than I
Right.
am. I mean, a lot younger than you, but just like a couple months younger than me.
Yeah, he's our age, I think is what you meant to say.
Born in Bloomington, Illinois.
Yes.
And
Has some Chicago roots as well,
but then it's
actually.
basically California. You hear the California influence in a lot of his
Yes.
songs.
And Texas.
Yeah, he grew up in Solo,
Okay.
San Luis Obispo, and then moved down closer to L.A.
Yes.
Solo, by the way, if you ever get out there,
Okay.
I love the city. Got to travel there many times for work in the recent years. They have the best donut shop, Solo Dough.
And do you only like it because of the clever name, or do
No,
they actually have
it is
good
great.
donuts?
They sell pillow donuts.
What?
Pillow donuts.
Can you sleep on them?
They are shaped like little pillows.
All right.
So you have your like doughy goodness.
Yes.
Right, with frosting on the
Okay.
top, and then inside they're stuffed, and it's not like downy feathers. It's like Nutella or something.
Oh, okay.
They're just they're delightful.
Sounds wonderful.
Solo Dough.
All right.
You could sponsor us too.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're big
right.
in Solo.
We're
I'm
the
sure we have a listener there.
we're the number one podcast of fat guys in Solo.
Exactly.
So,
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, we do have a listener. We do.
Right.
Yeah, we do.
That's
have
what
one.
I'm saying.
Yeah. All right.
So, well, I'm not. So then,
But
for this album, then, so as he progressed through his music and became, he signed with 4AD Records, and then he started to fill out the band a little bit and get I think he always has a little bit of that lo-fi sound, but this album does not specifically. It's a very nicely produced album. But Frank Bruno is playing on the piano. Peter Hughes is playing on bass, and Peter Hughes was his bass player up until just this past year.
Yeah, we saw him.
Right, we did, and then
a couple times.
Right, and the producer was John Vanderslice. I don't remember. So John Vanderslice opened for for the Mountain Goats when we saw him at that first show.
Yeah.
And he has just a bonus song out there. My favorite John Vanderslice song is Angela. It's a really great song about a child's missing bunny. So just check out John Vanderslice, Angela. I love this song. And then additional performers on this album are Eric Friedlander on cello. The cello is a very prominent and important instrument on this album.
Yeah.
It brings a great depth to it. Alex DeCarville was the drummer. But he's not part of the current Mountain Goats lineup. The current Mountain Goats lineup has John Worcester on drums, and then Matt Douglas is sort of a multi-instrumentalist. He plays keyboard, woodwind, saxophone.
Nice.
And so I don't know if he's just kind of hiring out the bass part right now. I don't know if he's hired a full-time bass player yet. But started out, as we said, lo-fi 1991 as essentially a solo act with friends. Mm-hmm. He has 22 studio albums right now. He's a prolific songwriter. Right. He's probably got over 600 songs. I mean, I tried to look it up, and I don't think nobody knows how many songs he's written. He's got so many songs.
The New Yorker referred to him as America's best non-hip hop lyricist.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's even better than that. But
he was also named by Pace Magazine as one of the top 100 best living songwriters.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
he deserves that without a doubt.
The music is nice. The musicianship is fine. These, to me, the Mountain Goats are about the lyrics. They're about the stories.
Well, the songwriting is brilliant. The stories are brilliant, but don't sleep on his vocal style because he brings them to life. He sings with such passion and such intensity. So I as great as the songs are, and I agree with everything they said about him. He's definitely one of the greatest lyricists around right now. And I know the hip hop, community they're strong in the lyrics and all that, but it's a different style of music, but I would put him up against just about anybody.
Yeah.
I would put him up against Kendrick. I would put him up against anybody you want.
So early on, I think, and you hear a lot of like literary influences. You hear a lot of religious influences in his music.
Yeah. Can I jump in on that right away? Because I'm just to your point, and I know we're not talking about the songs yet, but just to, like Love, 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 which is towards the end of this album.
Yeah.
The first verse talks about the Bible, crime and punishment,
King
and
Saul,
and
yeah.
Sonny Liston.
Right.
And that's just the first verse.
King Saul fell on his sword.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Sonny Liston rubs some tiger balm into his glove.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's,
And then the guy before that you can't pronounce is a character from Crime and Punishment.
Joseph.
No.
That's after it. Yeah. I'm just
okay.
gonna skip that
but
altogether.
anyways, like,
so we'll get
so
there.
I'm
yeah.
just providing evidence for what you just
right.
said.
And he talks a lot in interviews about religion and the religious influences.
Yeah, and I
have.
think he was pretty close to being a minister or something at some point of his life. I'm not sure about that. But.
Yeah. But the music from this point on, I mean, is a lot more autobiographical. I mean,
this particular album.
Well, I think a lot of the albums are to his own admission. So I don't mean to argue that with you, but there's plenty more to argue about.
Yeah.
But this
album is one of the first. This and We All Shall All Be Healed, which I think came before it, or that's kind of a pairing. The We Shall Be Healed album and the Sunset Tree are kind of a pairing, and I think these were the first albums that were really autobiographical, and I think this album in particular was a cathartic album for him.
Oh, absolutely. So this. Released in 2005, this is really dealing with some sensitive themes. An abusive stepfather,
yeah,
who actually passed away in 2004.
Right.
So this is like right after. And the liner notes, I mean, is something along. I don't have it written down.
I do. I'd like, yeah.
But go. Well,
yeah, because it's stunning.
Yeah.
Made possible by my stepfather, Mike Noonan, 1940 to 2004. May the peace which eluded you in life be yours now. Dedicated to any young man and woman anywhere who live with people who abuse them. This is emotional. With the following good news, you will live to tell. You are going to make it out of there alive. You will live to tell your story. Never lose hope.
Yeah, it's an amazing.
That's
dedication.
The liner note.
Yeah, that is the liner note. So, so several of these songs deal with kind of that teenage, basically trying to survive in a place where you don't fit in, and a place where you risk physical harm or destruction of your property.
Yeah,
that was really what kind
every
of
day.
Yeah, and how you kind of coped and survived with that.
Yes,
and. So let's, with that, let's kind of dive into songs. Several of the songs directly kind of talk about that.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to isolate those, or you just kind of want to run down the line.
Well, I think the one theme that just and again this is an album I've listened to many times and dove into many times, but there's always something new, and even getting refreshing the album for this show is just bringing back.
Yeah.
Like new things. So to me, the album in the end is about survival.
Sure.
Like, I think that is the theme of the album. And even though it has all these really difficult situations, I think that's the undertone. So, I'm sorry, give me your question one more time, because I think I may have diverted just a little.
So several of these deal with are really close to dealing with
like
kind
the
of the abuse kind of things,
right? Yeah, and it's
this
kind of
year,
yes.
Hast thou
the
considered
tetrapod,
the tetrapod,
lion's teeth,
magpie, dance music.
Yes. Dance music's got the greatest line in it, and oh no, that's actually not the one I'm thinking of. But it's actually a happy song. It's like one of the happier sounding songs. But it's just about him being 5 or 6 years old and listening to his parents fight and argue, and the line is, "This is what the volume knob is for."
Right. Yeah, right. But I mean, there's some other great lyrics as you kind of run through this whole album.
Every album. I mean, every song has something.
Held under the smothering waves by your strong and thick-veined hands.
Yep.
But one of these days, I'm going to wriggle up on dry land. Is the end of.
And that's that that's that survival theme,
right?
That peeks through for me. So, you could, it's all just.
How about
amazing.
And alone in my room, I am the last of a lost civilization. As I vanish into the dark, I rise above my station.
Right. And again, survival is the theme.
Totally.
I'm like the focus. The initial focus is the abuse, and then the other theme running through it is, this sort of toxic relationship with a girlfriend who's just as inequipped to deal with the situation as he is, and that's the greatest line in this year, talking about. Him and his girlfriend as twin high maintenance machines.
Right, twin high maintenance machines is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Kathy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think somewhere, the age that he's, I think he's 17 in most of these songs. I think that's the age that we're talking about. It appeared somewhere, and I didn't write it down, but I did find like an actual age that he is. And I think this is about 17 years old. But as I said, it's like dance music. He references being 5 or 6.
Right.
I think "You Are Your Memory," which is the first song in the album. Might be talking about his. It's at first I thought it was a breakup song, because it's him in a motel, spending the night in a motel, and talking about "You Are Your Memory," and I always took it to mean his girlfriend that they'd broken up from, but it could be his father, who had just recently died. So in this case, he's an adult at the beginning of this. And then I think recounting his childhood.
Well, he's an adult again at the end too, because Pale Green Things has to do with
finding out his father died.
Right. Told me that you died last night. That morning at the racetrack was the one thing I remember. So it's kind of a story about going to the track as a little kid, or meeting his stepfather at the track.
Yeah. No, I think with him. And perhaps one of the few pleasant memories he had with him.
I think he'd even reference his fear in there, so it's still kind of
edgy,
afraid of
I think
his stepfather.
Right, I think he'd probably be afraid of him all the time. And one of the great lines from that is blades of grass coming up through the cracks of cement, referencing that as pale green things. And again, I think that's the survival element.
All right. We talked about a little bit about You and Your Memory.
Yeah.
Broom People is the next one up. In Your Arms, I'm a Wild Creature, I think is a great line from that.
It's a great line. And it's just the song lists a whole bunch of like useless, forgotten things.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that means he thinks he's useless and forgotten. But when he's with his girlfriend, he feels good.
Yeah. And then this year is the anthem off of this. It's generally the last song he plays in concert, or his encore.
It's one of his encores. It's one of the.
And lots of times he brings out like the opening act to play it with them.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of this fun
party
jam.
Song.
The whole place is singing the song. It is great.
Yeah,
but it's a tragic it's a tragic song.
Right.
I'm gonna make it. Well, and I referenced this in the opening. Is the kind of the refrain here is I'm gonna make it through this year if it kills me.
Right. It kind of like that was my theme for the entire COVID year or two. That that's kind of how I felt during that.
Mm-hmm. But it's 17. Talking about when he's 17.
Oh, so that's the
girlfriend,
album or that's the song that
yeah,
he identifies his age. Yeah.
Says he's 17. I was 17 years young, hurt my knuckles punching the machine, the taste of Scotch rich on my tongue.
It's great.
Yeah, phenomenal. And it's him and his girlfriend kind of hanging out or escaping, both of their situations and being together, but not knowing how that works and all the awkwardness and the experimentation that goes along with that.
And neither really being able to help the other.
Correct.
So that's the song that's like the most popular. That's the one that is like if you kind of want to ease someone gently into the Mountain Goats, that might be the one you start with. But it's definitely not reflecting the entire album either. I think it's got a little different sound of all the other songs. It's the single, if I may.
But it's great. I mean, it's
still great. Yeah, in no way am I disparaging the song by saying that.
And every bit of this story is phenomenal. But the last stanza, verse or whatever, is one that maybe you can, being the educator and literary person you are, maybe you can explain to me.
Something like probably not, but go on.
So the whole verse is, I downshifted as I pulled into my driveway.
Yes.
The motor screaming out, stuck in second gear.
Right.
The scene ends as badly as you can imagine, in a cavalcade of anger and fear.
Right.
And then the final sentence is, there will be feasting and dancing in Jerusalem next year.
Yeah, I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, again, okay, if I may,
yes.
Just to, I think that's still that survival element. Like, I think he's still like realizing he's in this really bad place. He's woken his father up by coming in loudly, I believe, and I'm going to assume he probably wasn't supposed to have the car. And so there's going to be a beating to attach this.
The Waking Up is another song.
Oh, it's another song. But still, he's come in loudly and alerted his father that he's home accidentally. Yeah. And so I do think the feasting and dancing, without knowing the specific place where he's pulling that from, is probably looking forward to saying, I'm going to survive this situation. I'm going to get it now, but next year, it will be happy.
So the Hast Thou Considered Tetrapod is where he's trying to get into the house.
Yes.
Get into his room and listen to his music.
Right.
Without waking up his father.
But he does.
He does. So I think the opening line is something like, you are sleeping off your demons when I come home.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that has a great, like, my favorite line. And again, he's in the process of being beaten. And his thought is, I hope you don't break my stereo, because it's the one thing that I couldn't live without.
Yeah. So that's, it is an absolutely amazing song. The other song that I kind of have a lot in rotation, and I actually don't know where it fits in on all of this, but it's the Up With Wolves.
So Up With Wolves, first of all, it's a really rowdy song. I'm going to bribe the officials.
Right.
I'm going to kill all the judges. It's going to take you people years to recover from all the damage. I believe this song is, it's about his mother being absent and not doing anything to protect him. And there's, like, just not being able to, I'm trying to pull it all together, but there's reference to ancient Rome, I believe, in this song.
Yeah. Well, that's the wolves.
It's the wolves, and in ancient, and
there's going to be a party when
the wolves come home, right?
When the mother comes home, right?
No, the mother abandoned them. The mother abandoned them, and so I think the Up the Wolves is talking about his mother had abandoned him, He's the wolf. There's going to be a party when he grows up and he's strong. And again, it has this survival thing. But I think this song, I mean, if you're asking me, my interpretation of this is that his mother has abandoned him in the same way that she abandoned the Roman Romulus and Remus.
Was, according to legend, raised by wolves.
Yes.
And I thought there was just, if that wolf that raised Romulus and Remus ever came home, there'd be a party.
Okay, maybe you're right. I think I like that. No, I think you're. No, I'll go with that. I think that's true. I think I agree with that. It can, and again, there's multiple interpretations, but yes, I think I can agree to that for sure.
I mean, other things. So Lion's Teeth, you mentioned briefly. It, is another one of these surviving.
Yeah.
Kind of surviving the situation he grew up in.
He's called this a revenge fantasy. Like this never actually happened. This was his fantasy that he would stand up to his stepfather. But then I guess later finding out that if he ever lets go, like he loses, like he's gonna lose.
Well, it's reaching into the lion's mouth and grabbing one long teeth and just hanging on.
Right.
Just hanging on. Yeah. So and then there's Magpie and Song for Dennis Brown.
So don't sleep on Song for Dennis Brown, because I know it doesn't seem like it ties into the album in the same way.
It's a good song. Go ahead.
I just absolutely love this song.
Good song.
Dennis Brown, and again, it's hard to go through these songs because they're so layered. Like you listen to the song, you're like, oh, this is a really good song. And then you're like, oh, I wonder who Dennis Brown is. And then you go deeper and deeper and deeper. But Dennis Brown was Bob Marley's favorite reggae musician, who died of a drug overdose. And so I think, again, these songs being autobiographical in nature, I mean, John Darn at the time was a drug user and a drug addict. And so this song is kind of just talks about how this person overdosed and how the world just kind of kept going on without him. But then it has like these really poignant lines, like, I wonder what's going to happen when I overdose. Like, he's already has this realization he's on a dead end path. And which, if you go back to You or Your Memory, the first song on the album, he's vowing to clean up his act. So there is a connection. I know it seems a little loose to the entire storyline, but I think it's a great, great, great song. It's one that I always like.
It is. And then Love, Love, Love.
Yeah, and we had talked about that.
Yeah, and Pale Green Things we had talked about.
Yes.
It's, I don't know. It's... If you're not familiar with the Mountain Goats, or you haven't listened to this album or haven't listened to it recently, it's worth going back and just every time I listen to this album, I'm disappointed that I don't remember how great of an album this is, and poignant and everything else, and emotional and whatever. So, all right, well that's. I would say. You got anything else to add? Or?
No, not really. Just as I've said, you can go. I think this is a great album to start your Mountain Goats
journey with.
Journey. It's right in the sweet spot of his career where he's sort of polished up his act. But from here, you can go in either direction. You can go backwards and listen to his whole lo-fi stuff. You can listen to We Shall Be Healed, which is sort of the partner album to this. But then he's made another 15 albums since this or so. But I think this is a great starting point album.
Yep, and some of them are very different. I mean, he has the wrestling one.
Oh, they're all different. There's the wrestling album is great. Some of his stuff is really whimsical, and I mean, he does, even throughout this album, it's dark, but there is a dark humor to it. There is a sense of irony. There is a self-awareness of some of these things.
So he also became TikTok famous recently.
With No Children off of the Tallahassee album. Yeah. Right. So he was. So I was going to say this year was his biggest song until No Children blew up on TikTok.
Right.
Which is also a great, great, great song.
Another one that's usually in his encore.
Yeah, it's an encore type song. And so that Tallahassee album is a couple of years prior to this one, and is
also ranked on my top 100.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be. Yeah, there's
we'll
there's
get
a
around
minimum.
to it
I can say there's a minimum of 3 Mountain Goats albums that deserve to be talked about. But but really they're all great in their own way, I think.
All right. Well, this is going to be hard, but normally after we're done with the album, we talk about whether it's a landmark or a perfect album.
Yeah, I don't know. So I will say Pitchfork gave it a 7.2 out of 10. Rolling Stone gave it a 3 out of 5. On Metacritic, which again is a website that compiles.
Yep.
It gave it an 83, which they equate to universal acclaim. So even though some of these rankings are a little bit lower, it's universally acclaimed. It's critically acclaimed by a lot of people. Having said that, I will fight Pitchfork. I will fight Rolling Stone. We'll do it right now on camera. If anybody from Rolling Stone or Pitchfork wants to come down. Because this, and I know we don't grade the albums in the same way we do in the review, but this album gets 11 fat guys.
That's a lot of fat guys. Yes.
It gets all the fat guys plus one.
Yeah.
It's a double perfect album for me. Every song's a favorite.
There are a lot.
You skipped over Dean and Lapati, which you can understand might be one of the weaker songs. Maybe like there are songs that are stronger and weaker. But
the only one I think we skipped is one I can't pronounce.
Magpie?
No.
Dino Lapati's Bones?
No.
Dilaudid.
Yeah.
Dilaudid.
Yeah.
Also a great song.
Yeah, like Kiss Me With Your Mouth Open?
Yeah. Yeah, just about living life while you can and enjoying life.
It's interesting because one of the kind of lines you might not pick up on is turn your tires toward the street.
Yeah.
So as you park, and so from being a California guy that he is, he would know that as you park on hills, you need to angle your tires.
Right, so you don't. Right.
So the car doesn't roll away.
Exactly.
And I'm curious. So if you turn your tires to the street, you're parking downhill, right? So if the cars you would have it turned towards the curb to keep you from that if you'd use the curb as a stop. So I don't know if he wants to turn his tires toward the street to let the car roll away or let him roll away, or if he's trying to protect himself.
Yeah, it's good.
So
it's a good thought. It's again one of many. If you like to go into detail and pick apart the lyrics of albums, like
here you go.
Every song you can look at line by line, like every single song. There are no wasted words. There are no wasted sentences. Everything has meaning.
So I agree with you. Perfect album. Hard. What do you do about the landmark?
Yeah,
as we call it.
Right. I know, and it's really tough. I can tell you, it's a personal landmark album. Like it's an album that was life changing.
Yeah.
Musically, it opened up a new realm of music to me, and I think anybody that listens to it, I guess it's hard to say. I hope that anybody who hasn't listened to this album enjoys it as much as I did. I don't know if it has the sway. I know he's influential, but it's also like a cult influence.
Yeah.
Like there are people that like us who swear by him.
So describe his music. I mean, we didn't actually talk. We didn't try and even put him in a genre.
Well, and because he's a genre unto himself. He is the Mountain Goats. If you want a genre, it's sort of
Chauncey. If there's an island of goth, there's a lake in the middle of this island, or there's a land of goth. There's a lake in the middle of this, and in the middle of that, there's an island
called the Mountain Goats.
That island is the Mountain Goats.
Yeah, I think that's true. He was definitely influenced by goth music quite a bit, and punk.
Yeah.
But he,
for sure.
Yeah, but that's not what he does. The closest thing I can almost think of is the Violent Femmes, but not really. Just because it has that folk. It's like that folk punk.
Or folk goth. I don't know what to.
Right. But it's
Definitely.
singer-songwriter, but with a
Yeah.
lot of intensity.
Yeah.
It's like a punk singer-songwriter, but acoustic, essentially. Like
Yeah.
this isn't
And
like
then his voice changes the whole
yeah. He's
kind of
got a
feel.
yeah. He can bring the energy. Like he can
Yeah.
be super energetic and just really emotional and intense and so. I was looking for albums again to compare. Like, who is like the Mountain Goats? Who could we comp this to? And there's nothing. The front bottoms, as we talked about last week, sound a little like the Mountain Goats. I like that influence can be heard. Like I can definitely hear a Mountain Goats influence in the front bottoms, but they don't sound the same. They're not exactly the same.
He is unique.
Pat the Bunny
Yeah.
is probably a copycat, like a Mountain Goats copycat, I would say.
Pat the goat.
Or yeah, Pat the Goat. So I don't know. If you can convince me to make this a landmark album in the broader sense of things, I'm happy to. But I'm not sure it has the big overall globalness to be a landmark
Well,
album.
when you talk about some of our landmark albums that we've covered already, like Blonde on Blonde by Dylan.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, that's just obviously a landmark album.
Right, The Doors.
Or, I mean, even the Grateful Dead last week,
Yes.
The Doors, What makes this a landmark for me is this is my music. This is stuff that I listen to.
Right.
My family, my kids know the Mountain Goats.
Yes.
It's my music.
Yes.
My wife will actually sing along with this year.
Yeah, she's got a song.
I mean, she's an REO Speedwagon Styx,
Right.
Bon Jovi kind of person.
Do we have to do Pieces of Eight next?
I don't know. And she will tap her toe and sing along in the car with this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's definitely got a voice that isn't traditional. It's definitely non-commercial music. I mean, this is indie.
Yeah.
Like this is an indie folk punk rock.
But I would say
type
Violent
sound.
Femmes he has a voice that isn't
Similar.
traditional. I mean, there's lots.
But it's unique at the same time.
It is totally.
Yeah.
Well,
So, anyways, I think that's where we're at with it.
So it's a landmark. It's a landmark to us.
These are personal landmark
Landmarks,
albums,
yeah.
in the,
I
and I
think
mean
that's
it in
fair.
the truly. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean it's obvious, and
Yeah.
it is a. I mean, it's a life-changing experience to me.
Yeah.
This music and what he brought for me. So.
And I
hats
don't know.
off. If I ever get a chance to shake his hand and meet him,
Yeah.
that would be a great honor.
And the interesting thing for me is I have like you can see I get emotional about this.
Yeah.
Like I have no personal, like his life does not mirror my life in any way,
Yeah.
but the way that he shares it and it's like I understand it.
Yeah, no, and it's laid out pretty clearly in this and a few other albums. It's fantastic. All right.
All right.
Let's leave that there, and we now have a live read, which could not be more poignant at this point.
Two Fat Guys in an Album is sponsored by Deeper Connections Counseling, helping people connect to themselves, the people they love, and the world around them through individual and couples therapy for Illinois residents, both in person and online. More information at dcctherapy.com.
Yeah, and you can see how your life can be affected by things outside of your control and your youth and how those things stay with you, and the amazing lyrics we just listened to and the commentary in the liner notes. Things happen. You don't need to take them out on people around you. You're important. If you need help, get help. These are an excellent group of people to call. We know at least one of these people very well, and worth having a conversation if you're having struggles. Your relationships are worth it. So are you. All right. Let's hear a couple more messages from some sponsors.
Hey, two fat guys and an album fans. This is Diane Blackburn, realtor with Baird & Warner and proud sponsor of this podcast. I pride myself in being committed to serve as a trusted real estate advisor for all my clients. Whether you're looking to sell, buy, rent, or lease, feel free to reach out and let's chat about how we can work together to make it happen. If you're watching, scan the QR code for my website or give me a call at 630-638-1999. See you on the flip side.
Are you someone who needs help with their Instagram or TikTok? Well, you're in luck. LR Media is here to help. Email me at laurarose2003@aol.com to get started. Let's make your social media shine.
Well, welcome to Side 2. So this is kind of where we talk a little bit about stuff we've uncovered and are listening to and found, and sometimes, like this time, we're going to do an album review.
Sure.
So a new album out that I'm excited to hear what you think.
Okay. So Samantha Fish, Paper Doll, brand new album, came out about a week ago. And the process, by the way, because this is new and we're kind of big time, is I see what new albums come out. And we only have time to review one album.
Yep.
So I just picked the one that looks the most interesting to me, and let's see how it goes. So Samantha Fish is a female blues artist, great blues guitarist, really current, one of the top blues musicians around today. She plays guitar wonderfully. She's got a powerful vocals. She's from Kansas City. And she's definitely one of the standard bearers for the blues. She's won numerous awards from various blues organizations over the years. She's the real deal. And if you like the blues and you like blues guitar, I encourage you to just check her out in general. Her previous album is Death Wish Blues. And that was nominated for a Grammy in 2024, and I recommend that album as well. So she's a star. I would love to see her in person. The album that we're talking about, though, is the new one called Paper Doll.
Paper Doll, okay.
Yeah, and it's really brief. It's her 8th studio album since 2009. It's just got 9 songs on it, 36 minutes long.
Everything you like.
Everything, yeah, it's right to the point. And it's the first album she's recorded with her touring band. So it's kind of, when you ask what's a band, and, this is kind of a band. Most of the album was recorded actually while on the road. And it was kind of an attempt to capture that live feel, but in the studio. It's a good album. I think it's an attempt to be a little more poppy. There's a lot of styles on this one. The first one is sort of has a Nashville country vibe to it. They're all blues based. They're all guitar rock based. But I'm Done Running is, if there's a single on this album, this is probably it. I hope she makes a ton of money off of this song because she deserves it. But it is sort of the single. Can You Handle the Heat's the next song. It's a classy, riffy 70s guitar rock song. If you like Bad Company, for example, or Foreign, or like that 70s guitar rock sound, you will for sure love a Samantha Fish. If it's she plays kind of in that style.
So this is, would you say? And I know her a bit, and I would say she is a blues artist.
Yes.
This you kind of sent this over to me, and I was like,
not as bluesy.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. This album I think is, and she does have some country roots to her. She'll also play in a country.
I heard more of that than the blues.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. It's not a straight on blues album, whereas Death Wish Blues, the previous album, a little bit more. So if you're looking for something that's really a more pure blues album, Death Wish Blues. This one, again, I feel like she's trying to be a little more commercial. I think she's trying to hit a couple different genres in the hopes of crossing over a little bit.
I questioned whether you knew what the blues was for a while here. Like, this isn't the blues.
Right. But it is. I don't know if you bothered to turn it over to side 2 or not. It's only 36 minutes long. I
Yeah,
know
no,
you have
I-
a short attention span. The fourth song, Sweet Southern Sounds, that's a favorite of mine. That's a slower blues. It's got the Hammond organ. You play the blues, you throw in an organ, and it wins. It starts off kind of slow, and then at the end it just wails. She just takes off. Like, this would be a great live song to hear.
100%.
Fortune Teller, the sixth song, is more of a slower, heavy, like a heavy metal blues. Almost sounds like Black Sabbath a little bit. It's got some fuzz guitar. Paper Doll is the name, whatever you call it, the song that matches the name of the album, the matching song.
I would have to ask the Maestro of music.
I don't know. I'm still getting over the mountain goats. I'm
emotionally spent.
Yeah, the whatever. It's that song. It does sound.
The
she
title
sound
album.
the title song.
Yeah,
That's
there
what
you
we're
go.
looking for.
Title
Thank you so
song.
much for that.
Yep.
This one sounds a bit more contemporary blues to me. It's more of a blues song, but it sounds a little like Alanis Morissette. It's got a little bit of an Alanis Morissette vibe. Again, great guitar playing. So Samantha Fish, on the whole, great vocalist, great blues artist. This album touches a lot of different genres. It's not a pure blues album, but I think if you like guitar rock or guitar country, there's probably a couple songs on there for everybody.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, again, I'm going with 6.5 fat guys on this.
6.5 fat
Yeah, I
guys,
think it's a good album. It's a 2 favorite album for me. And then there's 2 other songs that I like, but don't quite make it to the favorite list.
So I feel bad about this, having listened to both sides.
Good.
I
I have to ask.
No, it's fair. You know me.
Yeah.
I was. So this, I don't even. This just sounds horrible. I haven't even got it out of my mouth yet, and I'm already disagreeing.
Maybe you should edit it.
Already disagreeing with myself.
Yeah.
But I'd given it 5 fat guys.
Okay.
Because it wasn't blue. I was sold a bill of goods. I was sold it was a blues album, and
Right, but you
and it
weren't.
wasn't,
It was
yeah.
just your own bias going
Well,
into it. So
knowing the name.
right, knowing it's Samantha Fish and you expect it to be
Yeah.
the blues. Fortunately, you didn't have to spend $12 on it.
Correct.
You just
Correct.
had to listen to.
So it's like I'm expecting a rock musician. I get a jazz album.
Right.
This is like
this is what threw you off with Bruce Hornsby. You still can't get over it.
So you scared me when you said contemporary blues.
Yeah, no,
now,
it's not
now
that
it's like
weird.
contemporary classical is like I'm terrified.
You're a little jumpy.
a little.
Yeah,
after the whole platypus fiasco.
I will say, like, I really try personally to eliminate expectations before I listen to something. I really do try to go into it with an open mind. And even though yes, I chose this album because I like Samantha Fish and I thought it would be a blues album. So I do, in some ways I agree with you. I listened to it and I was like, well, that's a country song. Oh, that's this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I'm not just going to punish it for not being the genre that, for not fitting in my box.
Right. No. So I will leave it. I will leave it here. Samantha Fish, wonderful vocals, wonderful guitar player. I would listen to a different album of hers, an earlier album. I think are better, but she's worth listening to. So 5 fat guys for me, 6.5.
6.5 for me.
Nice.
We're
All
pretty
right.
close to
Yeah.
agreement on this.
Yeah. All right. Leave that there.
Okay.
I got a couple of things that just to kind of run through and then see if you have anything else. Arcade Fire has a new album that's probably out by the time this podcast gets released.
Okay. We should review it.
Called Pink Elephant. There's 2 songs that are out already as the time of this recording. Pink Elephant, the title song.
From Dumbo?
No, from Pink Elephant. Pink
Elephant's
is the
on
name
Parade.
Stop. Pink Elephant is the name of the new album. The title song has been released.
Okay, so not a cover of the Dumbo song. Go on. I'm just trying to.
He's old, so he knows old Disney movies.
I'm gonna say like 1937.
He's that old.
Yeah.
And You're the Snake is the other one. You're the Snake is a really good song, so I'm looking forward to hearing the whole album. I'm an Arcade Fire guy. I think Funeral is an epic album. I'm not sure where you stand.
I like Arcade Fire. I've never really delved into them, so when I hear them, I don't turn them off on the radio. So I'm not against Arcade Fire, but I would have to dig deeper.
All right. Okay. The other thing I kind of hit this week is another new album, which I think is fantastic by a young artist. Well, not that young. He's 27. Briston Maroney.
It's pretty young. It's younger than us.
Yeah, he was born in 1998. Chauncey, successful album. The album title is Jimmy.
Okay.
And the song that I would say to go try is Better Than You, is the one I sent you.
Yeah, I liked it. It's a very nice song.
But I think we think this might need to be an album review for next time.
Sounds
if you're
good.
up for it.
Yeah, we'll listen to the whole album.
Yeah, so that's stay tuned.
And
so
I'm familiar with the artist,
yeah.
so look forward to hearing this album.
Yeah, so the album is Jimmy, and you'll hear more about it next show.
Sounds good.
All right. You talked about Goose, and the only thing I had to kind of bring up is that on September 20th, they're going to be in Northernly Island.
In Chicago.
In Chicago,
Downtown
which is they're doing like 20 fall shows were just announced here recently. One of them is coming to Chicago. I've never been to Northerly Island, so
Really?
No, I've never. It was the last time I was there. It was an airport.
It was an airport. I've been there a couple times, but they reconfigured it a while ago, and so I actually haven't been there since the reconfiguration.
I was excited last year. I wanted to go see Glass Animals.
Okay.
There, but unfortunately that was the same night that Pearl Jam was in Wrigley, and
Pearl Jam won.
Pearl Jam won pretty much, hands down. Do you have anything else?
I just have a song that popped up that's new. Lumineers doing a cover of Sugar Mountain by one of my favorite Neil Young songs, one of my all-time favorite
Oh,
Neil.
to live on.
Yeah. Did you play with Neil Young?
So
Are you Neil Young? So
that's where you're saying you talked about Tom York singing in falsetto.
yes.
And is that Neil Young doing it on Sugar Mountain?
Yeah, probably, because when he goes into that higher register and his voice gets a little weaker and a little more vulnerable, I would probably assume that's his falsetto voice. So the Lumineers do. So if you like the Lumineers, you'll probably like this song. And this would be a great introduction to the song Sugar Mountain if you're not familiar with it. They do a pretty straight up cover of it. They don't do a lot different. They add some piano to it, so it has a little bit of a different sound. But they keep the same. It's the same vibe. It's very similar to the way Neil Young performed it.
That's a really good song.
Yes.
But that's got to be. I mean, that's old. I mean, that's got to be.
Well, it's the early 70s, maybe.
Maybe. If not late 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, holy cow.
So it's nice to hear a modern band go back. I love covers in general. I like seeing newer artists both bring back songs to a newer audience as well as perhaps pay homage to their influences.
That's a nice way of thinking about it. I'm not necessarily. You know, you're sitting in a bar listening to a band. It's nice to hear them do a cover of something you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Could try not to choke here. But I like it when bands, established bands, do something more creative with covers than just a straight cover.
Yeah,
I think that's fun.
Either way, I can go either way with it. Yeah. I agree. I think if you're doing a cover, you're either going to try to do it in the style of the original artist or make it completely different. I think those are your two options. So I don't hold either one against. In this case, it's a more true to the original performance.
Although it drives me a little nuts, when they just like changed when artists like re-record their own song and like just change the tempo or something. A cappella or
So
acoustic is
okay.
fine. Unplugged
Oh, I
is
was
nice.
about to say. So you hate acoustic
No,
albums or
no,
unplugged
no.
albums?
The unplugged is fine.
Okay.
But when you like, Jacob Dylan did One Headlight
Yeah.
in like a different tempo,
And
and it became,
you couldn't do it.
Well, it was just weird. He released it.
Did he do it? I'm not familiar with it. Did he do it faster or slower?
I don't think it was faster or slower. It was just a different.
Well, that's what tempo means.
Yeah,
Tempo's
it was just a different beat or whatever it is. I don't know. I'll play it for you.
okay.
after.
Well, just being the
One
maestro, tempo means speed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was like
So he changed the
an
accompaniment
iTunes
track,
release of him just singing the song differently, and it was
Okay.
weird.
but it wasn't interesting to you.
It was the wrong tempo.
Oh goodness.
I
All
don't
right.
know. All right, let's flip this thing over. Let's leave that there and flip it over.
This episode of Two Fat Guys in an Album is brought to you by Smidge Films. If you're looking to bring your ideas to life with some cool cinematic work, Smidge Films has you covered. From brand stories to promos, we'll help you tell your story in a way that really sticks. Check us out and see what we can do for you.
We're going to talk about one of the kind of new, what do we call these?
Beyond classic.
Beyond
rock,
classic. There you go.
until we think of something different.
So, right, side 3, Beyond Classic Rock. And the album we're going to talk about here is actually from a suite of albums. I don't know how else to describe this. I
A trilogy,
there's 4 actually. I think
a tetralogy.
Is that?
Yeah, it is.
Get out.
I swear to you. I looked
I
it
believe
up.
you. But,
No, I was ready
yeah.
to drop that on you.
yeah, no,
actually,
that's
myself.
awesome. So the band is Radical Face, which is much like the Mountain Goats, is a guy, Ben Cooper, and the album I really enjoy is one of the 4 albums of this kind
Of the
group.
tetralogy.
Tetralogy.
My understanding of it is it's really a trilogy, and then so the 3 albums are the Roots, the Leaves, and the Branches,
and together they're called Family Tree.
and they're called Family Tree. And he had a bunch of songs left over that didn't really fit onto any of those albums, and that became the 4th album, The Bastards.
which was released before the last album, Leaves.
Okay.
So Roots was the first one. So this is the Family Tree kind of grouping of albums.
Yes.
And it's a kind of a personal narrative story.
It's a story.
Story.
It's an amazing, actually, really truly amazing. It's about a fictional 19th century family.
Yes, there you go.
Right. He created this. It's almost Tolkien-esque in the just in the world that he created. Like he
Yeah.
created this universe,
Mhm.
and then he just has all these storytelling songs about it. It's not about Middle Earth or anything, but when I say Tolkien-esque, just that he created this
world building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
So we're going to talk about Branches, which is the middle album, but was the one that I stumbled upon through a commercial.
Mm-hmm.
One of those that one of the songs was featured in a commercial, or was featured in a movie, but never mind. Something I heard somewhere else. I looked up what I
Shazammed it or whatever.
I was going to say Shazammed it, but that sounded stupid. But yes, I Shazammed it.
Well, you're a Marvel guy, so you're not allowed to Shazam anything.
I can't. Great series, terrible movies. And I found this, and then I kind of stumbled into all of this on accident. But this album, Branches, which we're going to talk about, is the middle of the 3. Was 2013. So Roots was 2011, Branches was 2013, and Leaves was 2016. The Bastards was at 2015. I think the whole kind of concept, there is a companion book you can get of the
That's
whole
what I
thing.
was. Yeah, it's. Did you see it?
I did not look that.
No, you can get that online.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for download. It's no problem. You can go on this website and download it. It's a 56-page booklet, and it's actually what makes it happen for me. I gotta
That's
tell
great.
you, yeah, like
It's great.
yeah. If you haven't done that, you
Yeah.
must. And it's just a PDF. Like you can download. You don't
Sure.
have to pay for it or anything. It's
Yeah.
just like you said. It's a companion piece. But the
Tells the whole story.
it tells the whole story. It has the lyric. It has like a written introduction about the family.
Mhm.
That starts it off, and then it kind of just goes song by song, almost like an old timey album cover.
Yeah.
You get your album and the booklet in it.
They weren't 56 pages.
So it has this one's extensive. So it has lyrics for all the songs, and it has little annotations below that say this song is about. And I'm just throwing out a name because I don't know, but like this song is about Bobby, and Bobby is so and so's nephew, and it's also referenced in these other 4 songs, and so you can create this family lineage through all of it, and it includes and the lyrics are sort of like they look like they're scrawled on paper, like handwritten type of stuff. There's family photographs. There's
Nice.
No, it's like it's immersive. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
completely immersive experience. What I would say about this album is it sounded really great. Like I think it stands alone as an album. If you just listen to the songs on the album, it's a really nice album. But much like the Mountain Goats, you start looking at the different layers and the level of depth and the level of
Yeah.
creativity that has gone into this, and it's a total piece of art. It's just this person has created an entire universe. So for sure, go to the Radical Faces website, or I think that's where I found it, and grab the PDF, and it'll just take you another layer deeper into this album.
That is, yeah. All right. Well, there's our homework.
Yeah.
The album itself, song wise, the first 3 songs I could just keep playing on repeat. But so Gray Skies is the first song, which is just I don't even know.
It's a
considered
short,
song.
short instrumental.
Yeah,
Just
little-
but it sort of sets the mood.
It does,
It's like
exactly.
it's a really great start to the album.
Yeah, and then Holy Branches, I think, is amazing.
Yep.
And the Mute is also phenomenal, and it was on a soundtrack.
That's the one that hooked
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's got a little Mumford and Sons to it.
Yeah.
To me, it does. So we didn't. If you don't, just to backtrack
Sure.
a little, like I hear lots of styles on this album. I do hear a little Mumford and Sons. I totally hear like Laurel Canyon
very folk,
sounds,
folk
folky,
Americana,
Dawes-ish.
yeah,
As soon as I heard it, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I know why you like it, because it sounds like Dawes.
Yeah.
A little, not to be, again, not disparagingly, but if you're looking for a comp. Zach Bryan also, it sounds a lot like Zach
Yeah.
Bryan to me. So those are the comps, and it's like this Americana singer-songwriter, storyteller.
With depth, with amazing
For
depth.
sure, yeah.
Yeah,
And I agree with you. Holy Branches is a favorite. That's, as you said, the second. The Mute I like, but the next one, Reminders.
Reminders is very good. From the Mouth of an Injured Head, Jumping Down to 9, and The Gilded Hand are both phenomenal songs. So
Yeah, and so my favorites are Holy Branches, Reminders, Chains,
yeah,
and Letters Home.
yeah.
But there are no bad songs on this album.
There aren't. No, I would say this is, and having kind of gone through all the other albums, and he had an earlier album that he kind of got known for,
Ghost. Yeah.
yeah, in 2007.
Right.
So that's kind of where he sort of hit a little bit of got some notoriety, and then came these 4. I would say this is the best of the 4, but it's not by a whole lot. But it's clearly, and I think some of the songs on here are probably the best songs he's done. It's fun, it's immersive, it's deep, it's thoughtful, it's, you can spend a lot of time with these albums.
Oh yeah,
It's cool.
yeah. Especially if you get the booklet.
Yeah, apparently I know.
So I definitely recommend this album.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot.
I did too. Yeah, I've had for a while, but I was wondering where you would go with this, if you would just poo-poo me totally.
No, this one I have to be honest. No, as often as I do poo-poo you, every now, a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, and this is really a great album. I will say, if I poo-poo you 90% of the time, the other 10% are home runs. And this one's a home run. This one's a really, really great album.
So this. I picked this, or I sent this to you because I thought it tied well with the Mountain Goats, as in it's a guy who did like a lot of the production stuff himself.
Right, it's a one-man band sort of.
The way the Goats are.
Right.
But it's a very different production level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if he like grabbed. This is where you have to save me here. So does he like grab electronics? Or, I mean, how does he do all this?
So I didn't get into the full depth of it. One of the interesting things that I sort of glimpsed at, and I'm just going to say this could be a half truth, because there's so much to dive into on this album.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally scratching the surface, even with what I've come up with. I still feel like I've scratched the surface on this. But I think the intention was to use period instruments. So if this is, I think of this album as sort of, there's references to war and things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is intended to be like a Civil War era album or not. It's definitely 19th century-ish. And so is a lot of like just guitar, piano, drums. Like it's not 100% period, but it kind of is, I think. And the other thing he said about the instruments was, depending on the character of each song, each character has like their own sound and their own set of instruments. And I couldn't even get that further in that. So if you're referencing like some of the electronic sounds, to me, those
just
are like
he built this whole thing himself. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm not, because there are electronic songs. There are things that would, obviously nothing's probably on tape anymore, but, there are what I would consider tape sounds, like environmental sounds and stuff that's not a musical instrument that you hear. But what are you, like, I may not know exactly what you're referencing.
Yeah, and I may not. Well, so kind of the Mountain Goats, kind of the cool thing about their early stuff is that he really did everything.
Right.
He played that little keyboard thing. He did the guitar. He did the
Okay.
singing. And I think Ben Cooper's doing all of this as well, but it's a much different feel because it's a bigger sound. It's a deeper sound. There's
Sure.
a
I
bunch
mean,
of
you
stuff
just do.
going
I mean,
on.
it's studio recorded, so he's
Yeah.
you have the technology to be a one-man band. I mean, like we referenced Paul McCartney doing it on his McCartney albums,
Right.
where he literally, so you're just multi-tracking everything you do. You're the guy playing the drums. You're the guy singing. You're the guy playing the guitar. You're the guy playing the bass. So if that's what's happening, if he's a one-man band, then he's just in the studio laying down one track at a time to create the sound of this album. But the sound of the album is a modern sounding album.
So I'm scared here, but I'm
Okay.
going to go music
All right.
here.
Yeah.
Just a review that was written that I thought there was a couple of noteworthy things, and something in your defense I was going to ask you about earlier to make sure you knew the answer.
Yeah,
but
you
I
did not
failed.
prep. Okay, go
I
on.
failed completely.
Okay.
So this is a gushing review by somebody about this album when it came out, and it says the album benefits from that the trilogy benefits from a strict adherence to a specific tone. In fact, much of the Branches' songs are written in the same key as those in Roots, so the first album.
Okay. All right.
For all you music theory nerds out there, and when the instrument is limited to folky guitar picking and piano
Arpeggios.
or whatever, subdued floor toms and group clapping,
Okay.
there is so much diversity to be had. So what's the piano thing?
An arpeggio?
Yes.
Do you know what a chord is?
Yeah.
Okay. So
That's what you strum.
well, you could play a chord on a piano also.
Correct.
So a chord, you could play, say, 3 notes at the same time, and depending on your choice of notes, you get certain types of chords. You could get a diminished chord even. But a chord...
He is the doctor.
So
of
when you
diminished
play
chord.
3 notes or more, it could be 4 or 5, whatever, but 3 notes on the piano, that's a chord. When you play those notes 1 note at a time, that's an arpeggio. So you would hear like
dragging out the chord.
it's not really dragging it out, it's just speaking the note 1 at a time. So it'd be like dee da 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 da. And you could do the same thing if you're picking a guitar. If you imagine strumming a guitar, you get all the notes at the same time. But if you were to play each note individually 1 at a time, that's an arpeggio. An arpeggio is a chord that is just being played 1 note at a time.
Look, we've learned something.
There you go.
Yeah. You are truly the
And then
maestro of music.
Yeah, and just the fact that it's in the same key means it's in the same key.
I guess
It also probably means, I don't know if that means he doesn't know how to play in other keys. Ringo Starr has a great line in one of his songs. His line is, I play the piano as long as it's in C.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Well, perfect album, good album, interesting album.
it's a very interesting album. I don't think I have it as a perfect album in the, again, I think all the songs are really good.
Yeah.
I have 4 favorites, which I really like. Even the ones that aren't favorites, like some that you mentioned, The Mute, I like. Mouth of an Injured Head, I like. But it's not even, like, to call it a perfect album, it's not even the point of it. It's the entirety of it that matters. So even if there's a song on here that's a little bit weaker that I wouldn't necessarily put on my favorites list, when you listen to the whole album and you look at the stories and the way the stories intertwine through all the albums, like you, even if that particular song doesn't stand on its own, it's still awesome in the context of the larger thing.
So why don't you give the audience a song or two to try to dip their toe in? And
Well,
see if
you
they
mentioned
wanna listen
Holy
to 'em.
Branches. I mean, Holy Branches is a really easy one to like. It's
Yeah.
the first song on the album, and just keep going from there. Like, to me, I wouldn't start in the middle of this album. Just drop the needle and start listening to it. Because like you said, the first 3 are really strong. Holy Branches, The Mute, although not a favorite, is a really good song. Reminders.
Yeah.
Summer Skeletons is interesting. The Crooked Kind is a really good song. It's really good. So I think, I mean, if you're going to listen to one song, just start at the beginning, listen to Holy Branches, and if you're interested, just keep going with it and dive in. That's what I would suggest.
I would agree with that. Yeah. So I'm trying to give a starting point for people who
so it's
don't
not
need
just
to invest
overwhelming,
in 39 minutes. They can just sample it for 3.
Yeah, start right at the beginning with Gray Skies. It's only about 30 seconds long. It sets the mood, and then you hear Holy Branches, and you'll probably be just fine after that.
All right. Awesome. And with that, let's turn this thing over one more time to side 4, and we have rankings. So,
Oh boy. Well, this is another issue, right? We have issues.
this is where
The mountain goats create issues.
So this is our 18th episode. So we've 18 albums now, and we are taking the Mountain Goats and we're going to stick them into this list of 18 phenomenal
This is why
albums.
rankings are stupid.
And see
This is
where
why
this
it's
comes
stupid.
out.
Music is non-competitive. It's not a competition.
We are not competing here. We are simply ranking. So where does
one better than the other.
So,
Like, if you want to talk about the Cubs. We can talk about rankings. We can
You
talk
have like
about
2 jobs
sports.
on this show, and one of them is to.
Right, but it's a stupid job because it's.
You complain every week about this.
Music is not a competition, but I must earn my paycheck,
That's right.
and so I will put this in a list because it makes you happy, and
Yes,
then
it
you're going to
does.
make fun of me because you don't like where I put it in the list that I don't even want to do in the first place because music's not a competition.
He's catching on.
So, Moondance remains number one.
Thought we had a chance here.
You did have a chance, but there's no way. Like as much as I love this, it can't be number one. And the thing about Moondance, I know we've gone back and forth with this, but I think that's both an album that I like and a historically significant album.
There was quite a few of those on there.
So my list, has started to sort of separate itself a little bit into albums that are historically important and musically excellent, and then then it's sort of the musical importance or the historical performance drops off a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure Sunset Tree again fits that historical performance. It doesn't pass that test. So having said that, out of 18 albums, I have it 9th right now. I have
right
it
in the middle of the pack.
right in the middle. I have it beyond American Beauty at 8, which that is actually currently, I think, my line of demarcation of historic and great albums.
So you're saying this is your favorite?
It's
just
my
personal
Yeah.
impact album.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm putting it ahead of Moving Pictures. I'm putting it ahead of Bat Out of Hell and everything else.
I mean, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's...
Yeah.
So, yes, this is my number one personal impact album. And it's going to be hard to top.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Next week.
And by the way, I do have it, again, ahead of, say, OK Computer and the Joshua Tree. And so, I mean, I'm putting it ahead of some really amazing albums.
You are. You
Yep.
are.
Okay.
Wrongly, but yes, you are.
See, I knew it. All right, go ahead.
All right.
Wrap it up.
So next week, episode 19, we're going to do Automatic for the People, REM's masterpiece. So looking forward to that as we edged closer to episode 20.
Yeah.
So with that, we are going to thank our producer and production team from Smidge Films, Chauncey there. Appreciate all you do for us. From the team from LR Media, all the wonderful shorts and things they're putting out on TikTok and
YouTube and yep.
other social media stuff. Appreciate, love all the stuff they're doing. Our sponsors, Deeper Connection Counseling, Diane Blackburn from Beard and Warner, Smidge Films, LR Media. Don't just, we appreciate the comments. You drop a comment in anywhere you find us. Those are very, very helpful to keep this going. We appreciate it, but don't just like us, share us, introduce us to a friend. Every time that seems to happen, we seem to continue to grow. So please do us a favor and share away out there. With that, I'm Fat Guy 1.
Fat Guy 2.
We'll see you next time.
I thought very hard about going to the gym yesterday.
That's good.
I fully weighed out the pluses and minuses of it.
Yeah, I've been walking. I haven't been running.
Yeah.
Lent really screwed me up.
Why?
I was not going to work out because I was trying to squeeze in all these
Churches?
masses. Yeah.
You should have run around the block of the church a couple times.
Could have. Yeah, I didn't.
Only one Lenten activity per day.
Didn't have the bandwidth.
Yep. All right, I think I'm ready. Ready?
but then